What's up everyone and welcome. So this is CT side utility for Dust 2, and even though most of the interesting utility is on T side because that's where you take a lot of the initiative on the map, and then the CT utility is way more defensive. You can still have some set pieces of utility that is way more offensive and will at least help you gain control over certain areas of the map. Now, I have this idea that I want to try to do everything in a chronological order. So I will start from spawn, and show you what utility you can throw from the corners right here. Then we're going to move on to long, because that's the second part. I want to do something where I have divided the utility into 3 different pieces, which is going to be opening utility, then you have the defensive utility, and lastly you have something that I've called setups, plays, or retakes, in lack of better wording for those specific types of utility. And straight out of CT spawn, we have the long door smoke that you can throw from this position right here. You just want to aim at the bottom of the wire like so and do a normal jump throw. But you can also throw the same smoke from this corner right here. Then you kind of want to follow this wire or this part of the building and just aim right here in the middle. So you're in the middle above the window frame. And this is where it's useful to have the crosshair lineup extension, right? And then you want to do a normal jump throw as well. This smoke, the second one that I just showed you, is going to land slightly deeper. So it will go a little bit further out the door. And then it will land quicker than the first one I showed you. Now, let's imagine that we want to take long control, right? We have one player that had the good spawn from CT spawn, and he's going to run and throw a Molotov inside of the door. And just imagine that the Molotov will land, because now there's a smoke. This Molotov right here is very common to throw, just to block the T's from going straight out too long. But if a T has the best spawn in their spawn position, he can actually manage to get in front of the Molotov and behind the blue bin. So let's pair it up with a supportive flash. This is the most common flash lineup that you will use in competitive play. So you will stand right here next to the corner. Then you're going to follow the left side of the cross right here, all the way on top to the top of the sign. And then you just want to do a normal left click throw. And if you only want to throw one flash for this specific flash setup, you can throw a second one that will land behind your teammates like so. So now you have your teammates who will peek around the corner with the first flashbang, shoot the T's that might come out, and then a second flashbang will land right behind them, so they will be totally blind if any T's are pushing further out. All right, so that's the initial setup, right? Now we have control over A long, and we have posted one player in pit that will be staying here, hiding and holding the position in case the T's might want to retake it. So naturally, we didn't waste the smoke as the pit player, but we want to make sure to have a defensive setup. So if we get the feeling that the T's might try to retake long, we can actually throw a smoke that will land inside the double doors without revealing ourselves, which is really useful because we don't really want to swing all the way up here in case someone might be holding this specific angle and try to shoot us. So we're just going to stay inside of pit. And then we're going to use the light pole to line up so it's kind of overlapping with the corner of the building right here. And depending on how far or how deep you are in pit, you might want to aim higher. But if we're just somewhere around this like light area on the floor, we should be good to aim just slightly above the window frame like so. And then we could do a running left click throw. And this smoke will bounce inside the doors and re-smoke them for us. So this is super useful. Now, let's imagine that we have been pushed back from long, and now we need to re-smoke and stop the T's from pushing up to A lane, so we can have time for our teammates to rotate in. Now, we can stand right here on the corner of elevator, and then we can just simply aim at the bottom of the satellite dish like so, and do a normal left click throw. This is a very common smoke that you see a lot in the pro play these days. And this is very useful because it blocks off everything for the lane position, so the T's won't really push through it. Now, if you have an idea that the T's might try to push through it as well, you can have a teammate flash you in. Imagine if you're playing the corner, right? You have your teammate flash you in, and then you're just going to peek right here and try to kill any T's that might push in front of the smoke. Now, Let's imagine that the T's have now gotten control over A lane. The second layer or the third layer that we can actually use is by standing right here, or if you have a teammate standing right here who knows this smoke, you can just aim to the left of this electrical box, just do a normal left click throw, and then you will have a smoke that lands on the corner right here. This is also something you see quite a lot in pro plays, because this gives the CTs a little bit more room to maneuver behind the smoke. And once again, you can pair this up with a flashbang. So for instance, if I'm playing behind the smoke, imagine that I'm playing behind the smoke. The flashbang is going to pop and I'm going to swing out, clear the left side, and then I'm going to check if any T's are hiding behind the smoke. All right, so now the T's have pushed all the way up to cross, because now they threw the cross smoke and they can enter into B or A side, sorry. And you're the sole side player that needs to create time and space for your teammates to rotate out of mid and B to support you. So now you have a couple of options, and one of them is to throw this defensive smoke right here behind the box. Now you can peek on the right side, maybe get a cheeky kill on someone holding right here. This is a very common angle for AWPers to hold. And you have the opportunity to swing and see the left side right here of the smoke without revealing yourself too much. So now you can maybe take an advantage fight over the T's. You can also have, if you have a teammate on short that's here in time, you can ask them to flash behind you like so. Which is towards Goose, and then now you have the opportunity once again, because the flash is going to be covered by the smoke, and then you can swing out and maybe get a couple of kills right here. All right, so now let's imagine that we end up in a retake scenario. Now the T's have the A side and we need to retake it, right? So one of the pieces of utility that you usually end up with in a retake scenario is the flashbang. This is by far, I feel like, the most common utility set or utility piece to have left when you're trying to retake. So let's try to put it to good use. And it's very hard to throw a lot of good utility from this specific position. So you see a lot of people just chucking flashbangs over the walls or over the buildings like so, and it doesn't really help much. So one of the more useful ways to use a flashbang would be to throw it above the building right here, so you can push into the side. And that one was not very good, so it's a bad showcase. You might want to have it go a little bit further deep. So now that it lands a little bit deeper above the roof right here. So when the T's are trying to shoot at you, you might make them turn around, right? That's the main goal. It's not going to blind them for very long, but it makes them, or it forces them rather, to turn around. And now that I'm just thinking about it, actually, while I'm moving from short, I forgot to give you one of the most interesting set pieces from the defensive side. This is for an HE. Let me just quickly show you. So you can kind of do it like this. Imagine you have the T's pushing from short. Usually in the higher rankings, they might throw down a smoke wall right here on the catwalk, so they can push out and get over to Gandalf without getting seen all the way from here. And I think this was Foot that we saw use this. And the way you do it, or the way I do it, which is a cheap replica, I think they have a much deeper knowledge of the lineup that he or they used. This is just my very simple lineup. I think it's more preferable for pucks. So I just tend to line myself up somewhat roughly with the corner of the box right here. And then I use the top of the pyramids on the roof right here to do the lineup. So you just want to aim slightly above it and just do a normal left click throw. And as you can see, this grenade lands right in the middle of short right here, which is where you see most of the T's push when they try to swing out and take a fight on A side. Now back to the retake. So we saw the flash that we can throw above the wall right here to try and blind any T's. But let's say we have a Molotov or an incendiary. We can put that to good use if we have a feeling that they might be playing on site. Just use the palm leaf right here and just do a running left click throw, and you will have the Molotov or the incendiary landing right in the middle of the site. And usually this is where people hide when they have the post plant, especially if it's a one-on-one as well and they don't have time to get out of the site. Now you could also, if you're so lucky that you have both an incendiary and a grenade, you can pair up both, because then you will force out the CT, or the T, sorry, rather the T, and then you have a grenade landing right on top of them as well. Now let's move on to mid utility and let's see what we got going on there. In mid, the most important thing is to not get shot by anyone holding with an AWP in suicide. So the opening utility would be something like throwing a smoke that makes sure that you can cross safely to B, or throwing a nade in the double door that will make sure you can cross safely to B as well. But they are both used in each of the rankings, right? So for the lower rankings, I'd say you use the smoke, and in the higher rankings, you use the grenade. Simply because the HE is way more expendable compared to the smoke in competitive play. Now, the way you do most of these lineups is you want to slide around the corner right here of this box. So a lot of the utility is thrown right next to the box right here, or maybe slightly in front of it, but you just want to slide slightly in front of the corner. For the smoke in the, let's say for the beginner smoke, you want to aim something like that, just to make sure the smoke lands right here, and you can safely cross towards B without getting spotted, and they don't know how many of you crossed. Now for the more advanced setup, you want to make sure you kind of slide around the corner. Then you need to aim right above this dark area right here. And then you need to make sure you stand still, or at least that's how I do it. So you stand still and then you do a step forward and then you start running again. Otherwise the grenade will go too deep, and you can see I kind of messed it up right there. So let's just try that one more time, like so. Otherwise the grenade will go too far and you won't get let's say the obfuscation that you're looking for. And as you can see, this is how it looks when you throw the grenade correctly and an AWPer is holding the angle. Now you can also throw a smoke that lands a little bit deeper, like so, and you just want to make sure you aim on the right side to the pillar right here. Then you want to do a running jump throw, sorry, let me just quickly kill that smoke. So you want to do it like so, and then you want to start pushing in. This is a smoke that bounces off the second wall and gives you the opportunity to go into lower dark without getting spotted. And once you're in lower dark, you can throw a grenade like so. That will maybe damage any Ts that try to push in and gain advantage or take control of upper dark. Usually you find the Ts pushing towards these kinds of areas and just hold like something, an angle like this or something like that. With this smoke in mid as well, it gives you the opportunity to start lurking, because the Ts won't know if you pushed in or if you're just hiding in B side, right? So those are very useful. Now, if you want to make any sort of setups for B, let's say you're the cat player or the short player, and you want to take control and fight in mid. You can have your teammate come to the corner right here, and then you want to aim on this small lamp and just do a normal left click throw. And this is a very powerful flashbang because it won't blind your teammate who might be pushing cat like so, or a short, but it will make sure to blind any Ts that might be holding the angle like right here, which is a very common angle to hold when you start creeping up on short. Now, let's say you're the short player and you just want to peek, or this could be in addition to making sure that you don't die, because if your teammate is ready to set you up, you might just want to throw a Molotov into lower dark, which makes sure that any Ts that pushes you or try to catch you won't be able to, simply because they will take damage. So this is a very good opportunity to throw the Molotov, and then you can have your teammate throw the flash while you try to peek and take control over top mid. Now, it's very common for the B player to just throw a Molotov at the beginning of the round to stop any sort of aggression coming out of the Ts. And then you want to play close to dark, just jiggling to see if any Ts might be trying to push into B. Otherwise, if you don't see anyone, but you see this specific smoke that lands in front of dark, which is a lurk smoke from the T side, this went a little bit deep, but you get the point, right? You want to start throwing down your own smoke in order to create a gap or a wall that the Ts need to push through. And their lurk smoke also give you quite a lot of maneuverability if they decide to push through your smoke, sorry. Now, let's imagine that the Ts have gotten B side and you need to do the retake. This is where it gets really interesting and very hard, because B is definitely the hardest side to retake. Now, we have some options to us, and the first thing is a Molotov for, I don't know the word for this one, big box, X box maybe, or B side box. You can come here by the blue truck, then aim right below this wooden beam where it intersects with the wall, and then just do a normal jump throw. So you're gonna kind of get pushed out from underneath, and the Molotov will land on top of the box, forcing any Ts out. But another way to, or sometimes we have the Ts playing in the back side of the plateau right here, or they play inside of the side, right? Those are some of the more common areas that are really hard to clear. Usually you can kind of clear the headshot angle and you can clear car or behind the car pretty easily if there's no smoke, but it's very hard for you to go in and just clear the Xbox, clear plateau, clear backside or back plateau, and then you're dead to the side player, right? So we need something to force out the T's from those specific positions. Now you can come to this area right here, and it's kind of hard to see, but there's kind of like something, a nail. It looks like a nail or just some dirt on the wood right here. And you can aim right above this flank right here, slightly to the left. And this is where it's very useful to once again have the crosshair extension. Otherwise, it's hard for you to line up. And you can see I'm aiming right above the wooden plank, and then you can do a normal jump throw. This will land a Molotov right in the middle of sight, which is very useful. It can, with the new update or with the update to Molotovs, you can't make 100% sure that the Molotov will spread to this exact corner, which is just unlucky, I guess. If you have the T Molotov, you're more than guaranteed. But if you have the CT incendiary, I think I said Molotov, but I meant if you have the incendiary, the CT Molotov, you cannot be sure that it will spread to this exact corner. So having a T Molotov in the retake scenario is gold. Now, from this exact same position, you can throw a very good flashbang, and you're going to use the same lineup, so you can usually pair up the two, right? It's a very simple lineup. The flash will blind most of the players that plays off angles if you're trying to play like this, or if you're playing to hold windows, something like that. Now, let's say you want to Molotov back plateau. You want to aim right below this nail right here and horizontally to this one. So, and then you just want to do a normal jump throw. The reason why you want to throw it like that is to make sure the Molotov goes all the way to the right here. Otherwise, the T that might be playing all the way back can just tuck in the corner and hide right here. So that's very useful, but usually what I said before, in a retake scenario, the most common thing that we end up with is a flashbang. So let's take a look at some of the flashbangs that we can throw. We can stand by the corner right here. That means you would usually have a couple of players pushed up against the wall, ready to enter when you throw the flash, right? Then you want to aim right here on the electrical cable and just do a normal left click throw. Secondly, you can, from the same position, you can aim right here at this rock and do a jump throw with the flashbang. And then you can flash both for the left side and the right side of B side, which is very strong when you try to retake it, even though it's super hard. And yeah, that's basically it, guys. That's it for the CT-sided utility that I wanted to show you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Leave a like, or if you think I deserve it, you can subscribe to my channel. That would help me out a lot. And as always, take care, make sure to have fun, don't forget to GG, and see you in the servers.